one of the other things that made me say that I wouldn't put myself back in prison, I took full accountability that I put myself in prison. Not, God bless you, Dawn Nyson, how you doing? You're a good sister. No hate here. You're doing your job, right? I put myself in prison. I took accountability. I didn't do the blame game. And it was one day I was at visitation and my father is there. My father used to catch 2 buses and 2 trains to come see me. He used to bring my son. And we were at the table and I seen my father's hand started shaking. I said, hey, what's up with your hand? He kind of pulled his hand back. He said, oh, it's nothing, man. And then when I seen him and my son leaving for visit, my father was I didn't notice it before. My father was kind of bent over and I could see him dragging his feet. That was the first time I saw that my father had Parkinson's. So I knew that nobody else was going to take care of him. And when my father died, his last breath, I was there. And my father and I lived together from the day I got out of prison. He picked me up with my son and we lived together till he died. So that was one of the big reasons too.
Indeed, huge. So that was 2010, May 27, 2010, when you got out. You were 38 years old. So then, you start working at a body shop. I remember when you were working at the body shop. So you started working at the body shop, and eventually you went into business with a crazy partner. A partner.
Yeah. Oh, crazy Mike.
Love you, Mike.
Yeah.
And life was good, but then you had to fight to regain custody of your son. Can you talk a bit about the common returning citizen issue?
When I got out in 2010, I didn't have custody of my son. I had certain visitation and things started to change. And it took everything in me with my ex-wife not to go back, not to revert to who I was. I had to make a decision. It was that pivotal point where does everybody die and I go to prison and my son loses because his grandmother's going to have to die, raise him, or do they kill me and my son loses again? So I had to go to court. I put myself on child support. And it was the worst feeling in the world because they took away some of my visitation, made me pay more money, but I had to. And this is a big thing for us returning citizens, us that are coming out of prison, that is possible. Because I've had custody since 2013. My son has made honor roll I don't know how many times. And to this day, he is a freshman at Morehouse College on a track scholarship and just made honor roll. So when they say it's not possible, I'm living proof that you can have organized crime in your background, you can have been in prison, but if you fight and you believe that it can happen, it may not happen the same way, but on Judgment Day, or when my son becomes a man, I can say I did everything I could to protect you. Everything I could to make sure that you were okay. And that's what every father wants. And I was fortunate that the judge allowed me to have custody in 2013. And I've had custody of him ever since. And this is 2023.
So in 2017, you were 45. You released Miles in the Life, the documentary. Tell us a bit about that briefly.
Miles in the Life, the redemption story of a BMF, Black Mafia family drug trafficker, is the documentary, a full feature documentary that we released. And it's about empowerment. It's about living in that crack house, what I went through, and shedding a light on my mother who was addicted to crack cocaine. And on this year, June 27th, 2023, she celebrates 25 years of sobriety, clean and sober from crack cocaine and from alcohol. I wanted the world to see that there's other people out there like us, that you could have lived in a crack house, you could have been to prison, you can still get custody, you can still marry a great woman, you can still have a relationship with your mother, And you can be who you want to be if you want to be that person. And it's going to take a lot of work, but I wanted to change the narrative. I wanted to control our intellectual property. I didn't want them telling our story, because our story is always told by them. They always tell our story, and they tell it the way they want to. We took back the power and we said, okay, look, we're going to lay this story out. We're not going to romanticize or make drug dealing seem cool. This is what happened. This is what I went through. And I had to go through these things to get to where I'm at now. But it's the possibility that this can happen. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have them $2, healthy choice meals, but it can happen. You can have a good life.
2020, age 48, Terry is released from prison over COVID-19. Have you spoken to him?
No, I have not spoken to him, but I've sent great shout outs to him. Bless him and his family.
2021, you're age 49, BMF TV series premieres. What do you think of it?
I'm grateful that Meech and T are getting their flowers while they're alive. I'm grateful that our story gets to be told by somebody that looks like us. Selfishly, I'm grateful because as the BMF story skyrockets, my numbers go up. So as a byproduct, it makes Miles in a Life, plug, story of a BMF drug trafficker, more accessible. I'm hoping that there can be spin-off series, because there's more than just one story there. It's so many other stories within that can be told. And kudos to 50 for making it.
Are they planning on having a Miles character next season?
I don't know if they'll have a Miles character. It'll be the ultimate flattery. But it's no way they can't have a Miles character, because I've put the pressure on that my film was first. The first documentary by a BMF member that was a real member, and not the police story or district attorney story. This is our story. So I was the first. Shout out to me. I'm just saying.
That's right. Big up.
So, yeah.
So what are your thoughts on Lil Meech having the various issues he's been having? The $500,000 chain, most recently $500,000 BMF chain, being arrested for stealing the Richard Mille watch, the gun at the airport incident, and the sex video with the Celina Powell person.
What do I think about the things that have been going on with Lil Meech, from the sex video, from the chain, from the watch, from allegedly the pistol at the airport? I believe he's young enough and he can recover. I believe that the world is his oyster. It's almost nothing he can't do. He can come back from that. I think, God willing, his father gets out sooner than later. Shout out to Big Meech. And that he can have that guidance over his son. And I pray that he has great people around him that can guide him and let him know that this trajectory, you can act to your deathbed. It's not like football, basketball, or tennis, where you've got a shelf life. You don't have a shelf life with acting. This can take you to places that you would never be able to get into, ever. And you can do this around the world and get paid for it.
That's right. That's right. So don't blow it. Yeah.
You got it.
All right. So, you're already a award-winning documentary filmmaker. Tell us about your forthcoming project, The System, America's Epidemic.
I think The System, America's Epidemic will be the most profound documentary of 2023. It's about the system, and that the system isn't broken. It was never meant to succeed. The prison system is to house and incarcerate and not rehabilitate. No matter what the mission statement of the Federal Bureau of Prisons says, to enhance or to help healthy, law-abiding citizens. Let me give you an example. 24 hours in a day, 8,760 hours in a year. If you've been in prison for 10 years, that's 87,600 hours in a hyper-toxic, ultra-violent environment. What do you think that person is going to become? A super criminal. And you give them a 2-hour pre-release class. How dare you? How dare you insult us? How dare you do American citizens? Because we never stopped being citizens like that. So we take the approach from the prosecutor, from a jailer, from a successful returning citizen. We don't call ourselves ex-felons. We call ourselves returning citizens, but because we're returning back to society as a citizen. We take the perspective of a child of an incarcerated parent, and we get this whole story. We let the story tell itself, and we're trying to push the envelope to help returning citizens, because when that father or that mother is out of that family, that child is going to be in there next, and that cycle is just going to continue. So the system, America's Epidemic, it'll be out on all of the platforms, Amazon, Tubi, the Roku channel, Blaze, and all of those other streaming platforms. It's for us, by us, about us. And we're not making their story. We're doing our story. And yours truly, Mr. Cavario H, is a star in it. And I promise you a money back guarantee on all of these millions of people that Vlad has watching this. If you don't like it, put a comment. I don't care, good or bad. Put a comment, tell me what you think, and let me know how we can do it better.
Jabari Miles Hayes, thank you very much. We appreciate you here on Vlad TV. You're my brother, and I love you.
Love
I
you
wish you
back,
nothing but the best, and congratulations on that new baby.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Vlad, for having a platform like this and for allowing little old me on your show. And if there's anything that we can do to help our returning citizens, I think it is our civic duty, because if we don't help that person, that 100+ billion that's spent on prisons is just going to keep going and going. So even if you don't care about criminals coming out of prison, care about them breaking into your house, care about that being the 11th largest federal expenditure, care about that person spending our government's money. If they're out there, they're paying taxes, there's a stronger family, those children won't go to prison, they won't be on public assistance, welfare, they won't be in prison. Even my Republican friends. Oh, and God bless America. That's a wrap. And cut. Slate, Jabari Hayes, 2023.